but our leader, Andrew Horseball Turner, going around that right turn after the Roca swim banner. And a long grass run to get to transition. Some pretty lengthy transitions here.
Yes.
So, to your point earlier, Meredith, you might actually see Ben Canute, who's just getting out of the water as well. You might see him bridge up to our leader even in this transition.
Absolutely, and God love the grass. Like, the grass is key. It doesn't hurt your feet as much. And I can see Ben Canute just like doing his solid, perfect running form sprint on that section to try to catch. It's hard. They're trying to take their wetsuits off. They're trying to, get. It's a long transition. See, they're just by. I mean, they have a ways to go. Yeah. And then there's Ben. Is that Ben?
No, that's
Andrew. Still running. He looks like he's running solidly too, because he knows. He's like, well, I got this far. I'm going to keep this lead and keep while keeping your heart rate down. And you do. You have to, right? Well, you just got out of the water. You have to like concentrate on that. I've slipped. I've fallen in transition. So they're focused on that too, and they're just following the black line there to get to transition as fast as they can.
And you can see him running pretty aggressively.
Yeah,
he's definitely getting after it. I think he might even have a different internal dialogue than Ben Canute, being he's a racer.
Yes.
Right? And I think the thing that could hurt Ben over Ironman, and he's smart enough to know this, is that he's going to want to race the whole time.
Right.
And he probably in his head right now is like, chill, dude, chill. You've got this much longer. I guarantee you he's saying something like that, right?
Right.
And so two very different kind of mindsets going in. We're clearly looking at the way our leader is running. He is being aggressive. He wants to get on this bike ride first.
Right, and he's finding his bag. That's always the hardest part, like get the bag, get to the tent. What's nice in Ironman racing, you have a civilized, you can sit down. I sit down, put on my everything, and that's probably what he's doing. And as you see, Ben is not too far back there, and because he's running really fast to his bag. I think they're going to be in the tent. I think they'll come out pretty close to each other coming through transition here to start. And that's exactly what Ben wanted to do, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think they will. And, it'll be a quick transition. I think last night some athletes were a little bit nervous. Forecast showed, mid-40s that maybe they were going to put some gloves on to that sort of thing. But I think especially after St. George, you're not going to see athletes putting too much on, as we see Andrew still getting some stuff out of his bag as he runs through transition. He has his helmet on. He's going to run all the way through and then drop his bag. Most likely, it looks like he's going to drop his bag at the bike unless he discards it prior to that. But looks like he's rolling through, but no Ben in sight right now. But I don't think Ben's going to be too worried about that. But Meredith, as we talk about that, we have our chase group getting out of the swim as well. We got Simon Shee in 50 minutes, so about 3 minutes behind. Ruben Zepunkt in that group as well, with Christian Hogenhag, Hilker, Ruder, and Matt Hansen has made that group, as well as Dory and Mantell. So for me, you might have heard my inflection. But Hansen in that first chase group, I'm double checking to make sure that's
right.
Matt
3
Hansen.
minutes. That's it.
That is the best swim I've ever seen Matt have.
That is huge. That he is, exactly 3 minutes. As we know, he shines on the bike too, but he runs like a gazelle. So like being 3 minutes, usually he's catching up, right, on the bike run, and now he's 3 minutes from the lead. Golden.
And who's right there behind him? Joe Skipper.
Is it? Yes.
These guys are blowing my mind, honestly.
Perfect.
And, a name I haven't seen, and we'll have to see if he actually started or not, but I'm not seeing Justin Metzler in that. And to me, that's a shocking if he's not with or in front of those athletes. So we'll get an update on that as soon as we can. Ben Canute struggling a little bit with his helmet as he gets on there, as our leader is already out on the course. So Ben's lost a little bit of time in transition, but Ben Canute getting onto our full gas bike course here. But yeah, again, for me, 3 minutes. If you asked me yesterday what the gap would be to Skipper specifically and Hansen, I would have said at best 5 minutes, but probably more than that. And right now, Adam Fay comes through at 51:48 and Sam Long at 51:49 with Kevin Collington and Engelhardt.
Good swim.
Man, the athletes that were quote unquote bad swimmers compared to an athlete like Ben Canute are having phenomenal swims.
Phenomenal swims. And, you know, I think Ben was slower in transition because he opted, and I think it's smart. He put on gloves.
He did,
and
okay.
I think
Yep.
that's smart for this because it can get cold out there on this, even though it's 55 or whatever. It's cold to start, and I always, you know, put on gloves that you can throw, right? Just throw them at the aid station if you get too hot, but to start and keeping your hands warm, and that's probably Ben having just done so well at you know, 70.3 Worlds, he was probably like, I don't want to be cold like that. It's not that cold, but I'm still going to wear gloves. And he can check those at the next aid station if he gets warm. But that's why I think his transition was slow, is he took that time, and I think it will pay off. I do.
Well, and he knows these conditions better than anybody. He lives right down the street, so he knows this desert. In the morning, it can be a little bit chilly, and you know, he's checking in. He's like, man, how many times have I left for a bike ride at 7:30 in the morning without gloves on?
Exactly.
Never.
Never. So I'm going to do it. And like, what is nuts is like Kyle Buckingham. All of them are within the under 5 minutes from the lead. I think this is going to be a crazy bike.
Crazy bike. And to me, what stands out to me is that it's not. We know this is a fast swim course. So we could say, okay, these guys are close because it's a fast swim course. But no, I think Joe Skipper, Matt Hansen, and Sam Long have all had the best swims maybe of their career, because you see other athletes like Buckingham is a good swimmer. Kevin Collington is a great swimmer.
That's what I was just thinking.
And those athletes came out in front or with Kevin Collington. So amazing, amazing swim by these three. And I think what that means is they were all focused on what each other can do. And I think specifically like, dude, we got to keep it tight with Ben. We have no idea what Ben's going to do.
No idea. And so given they're within, you know, 3-4 minutes, they're set up for success. Sam Long definitely is licking his chops right now. He's like, oh, all that swim training paid off.
Man, I mean, I wish we had the camera of the swim exit. And I think I would picture in my head Hansen seeing that time and giving like a little fist bump or something, because that's huge for him. And he's not a, I think I used the word bad swimmer earlier.
No,
I didn't mean
I
that.
got you.
Matt's a good swimmer, but he's not a front pack swimmer.
Right.
And sure, two athletes came out in the front, but those are kind of like an off the front pack, where that Matt Hansen was in the quote unquote lead group or main group, and that we don't see that.
We don't see that. And now he's going to have a way like less stressful time kind of catching to the front pack, I think. Usually he's farther back and he still catches, and then on the run, we know he can catch even more. So now he's probably pumped. He could try to work off Sam Long. He could try to work off Joe Skipper. They'll all be in a group together, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, there might be some bombs thrown earlier, because it is, you know, there's a bunch of fast runners in there. We got low 240 runners, 230 mid 230 runners in Matt Hansen and Joe Skipper on the right day. So, you know, I don't even think know, Sam Long's not going to be comfortable coming off the bike with them. Ben Canute, I don't think will be that comfortable coming off the bike with them. Meredith, news from course. Coach to the Stars, Julie Dibbins, texted and said Justin Metzler, unfortunately, was feeling sick, almost flu-like this morning. So no Justin Metzler at the start. So
what we discussed. You got it. Half the battle's getting there healthy. Well, he probably made the right call not to push. As we say, there's always another Ironman.
There generally is, and it looks like we got an overhead shot of Lauren Brandon. She's going to catch one more male pro, or just catch before we get to the end of this swim here, this Roca swim course in Tempe Town Lake. But Lauren Brandon going to come out in about 51 minutes. And again, that and not to take away from Lauren, but that shows that those men had incredible swims for them.
Incredible swims. And she swam by herself. Right?
Yeah,
so
sure, for sure.
Imagine if she had even like Lucy Charles or some, they would have gone even faster. I mean, that's hard to swim by yourself and just go that fast.
Totally. And I don't say that to take away from Lauren, but I guarantee you, if you asked those three men if they were going to outswim Lauren Brandon, they would laugh at that question.
Right. 100%. I'm just laughing at how calm she is. You see, I'm
awesome.
literally, and of course, me, I would sit down. I'm the only pro that sits down. See, there's wetsuit strippers.
You do.
I would lay down and let them strip that sucker off me.
I've seen you do that a time or two. Awesome. So Lauren Brandon in and out of that swim here in Tempe Town Lake, 51:08.
So good.
Time for her.
51:08.
Yeah, and again, I think well pointed out that she had to do that all on her own, and she always does. But you know, showing that swim course isn't, you know, extraordinarily fast, because I think she is going to have a decent gap on some, you know, we're talking Sarah True, Ayueda, some other fantastic swimmers that were Olympic swimmers. Like to be
huge.
Sarah was 4th place at the Olympics in London. To be there, you are one of the best swimmers on the planet, let alone in triathlon.
Right. And I'll be so curious to see the gap. But do you see what Lauren's doing? It's almost giving me a pulsing headache doing it. And like I because she does it. I can't do it. I'm not skilled enough. She's putting on, she must feel restricted to have her, her kit rather underneath her wetsuit when she's swimming. So she opts to do this. And look how, you understand, it would have taken a village to get that on me. She did it so gracefully. Yeah, and it works for her.
And athletes will make that choice sometimes depending on how long the transition is. So this one's very long.
Yes.
And you'll see swimmers be a lot more sensitive to that shoulder restriction.
Right.
But I do think, and a lot of people overlook it, if there's time, I think she's making the right call because that suit is built to be as aerodynamic as possible when you're tucked in a time trial position, which your shoulders are in the very opposite position as they are when your hand is above you trying to get an efficient swim stroke. So often athletes will feel that as they're moving their arm forward in the quote-unquote recovery portion of their swim stroke, they actually have to use more musculature to move forward, where normally it kind of just happens. So Lauren making sure she has that good feel of the water, and
so
again,
smart.
she's got plenty of time. Plenty of time to do it.
She's got like her bag. See how calm she was. She got it all together, and now she's like, I will take my cap off. I can like literally. I feel like I'm in her head, and I'm already calm just watching her.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
amazing.
Awesome. And I see.
Yeah, this is Sarah. This is Sarah True coming out up onto the ramp coming out. So she's a 53:49, so 2 minutes and 30 seconds ish behind our women's leader, Lauren Brandon. It looks like she has a pretty decent gap on the athlete behind, so we'll see what that gap is. But that gap doesn't surprise me.
Nope. That's probably the most like an accurate gap. And Sarah also swam on her own, and she was probably like, well, I'm not going to bust it to stay with Lauren. I'm going to just stay here. And remember, we saw her looking back. She was trying to see who was with me. Okay, I'm solo mission, so I'm just going to cruise. Yeah. And she knows she'll get a split here. She's only, Lauren's not even on her bike yet, and Sarah's out of the water. So you just never know.
And I can't tell you enough how like Sarah True is a ridiculously fast swimmer, and that was a great swim, right? So that just shows you the woman on screen is that impressive of a swimmer. And Skye Moch has had really good swims lately, and she's been in that kind of front group. I think Kona, she was in that like chase group.
Such a good swim in Kona,
and she's still not in yet. So that shows that Sarah True and Lauren Brandon are not messing around. The swim today for this women's race is not a quote-unquote warm-up. This is part of the race, and this is a big tactic. And these two women up front are wanting to make Skye work for it, because in the end, I think Skye is on paper the favorite. If Sarah True heard me say that, she would smack me upside the head because Sarah True 100% should be as well. But in the last few years, Skye's had more race days. Sarah gave birth and is on a journey in school and motherhood that's taken her away from as many start lines. But Skye is the one that's been just knocking at results door for the last 2 years.
And that's what we talked about earlier with Skye, is I love how she has progressed so much in the sport now to be one of the best Americans on the circuit. And so, she might feel a little, I don't love using that word, but a little pressure. She's like, wow, I'm like, the top dog for this race potentially. And these girls are going to put up a fight up front here. And I have no doubt once Skye does get out, that she's going to go for it on the bike. And we know the bike is her strength. We'll see when she comes out.
And she is even more so when she gets these splits. She's going to be like 5-ish minutes behind Lauren Brandon and 3 or so behind Sarah True. That is not where Skye wanted to be today. She wanted to be with Sarah. And it's hard when you're an athlete like Skye. Like I've said, she's been able to get, and she's third out of the water right now at 56 minutes. So 5 minutes behind the leader and just under 3 minutes behind Sarah True. But Skye, she has good swims when she gets in a good group. Right? So she's more exposed in a race today. So in the end, this was not a bad swim for her.
Not a bad. She swam solo mission too. Isn't that crazy? The top 3 women all coming out of the water, all swam solo.
And that shows you how well they're each swimming on their own. But again, not to say that Skye had a bad swim, but if there were 3 more athletes that were around Skye's ability and she had a little group, she'd be a minute closer.
100%.
But they're
If
just
she would have
exposed.
been able to stay with Sarah and worked off that, it might be the case where, like I said, if you don't get in that draft or like put in the effort to stay in there, it's really hard. Then, like you said, you can get dropped, right? And then once you're dropped, even 20 meters, it's really hard to get that back.
Oh, for sure.
So, and that's might have been this scenario of Sarah to Lauren and then Sky to Sarah. And so they were like, you know what? We're just all swimming solo.
We're doing our own thing today, and I think that's, maybe that's why
Yeah.
Sarah True had to take 3 or 4 looks over her shoulder
Sure.
because it's just so strung out, and still no other women out of the water here at this point. But Lauren Brandon has gotten onto the full gas bike course, so the bike is officially on in our women's pro race here, but swim's still certainly on for a majority of our women's field.
Right, and we thought it would be these 3, right?
Yep.
This is what we predicted. We were like, and look at Sarah True. She ended up putting on some arm warmers. She's got all warm. She knows she's done this rodeo before. She does know that we've got a long day on that bike.
Yeah, no, she absolutely does. And, this is an athlete, and triathlon, our memory is short. So we think, okay, well, whatever. Sarah True, and I'm being facetious here, Sarah True has lost it. She had a bad race in Kona.
Right.
But, man, I mean, she raced in Placid just a few months ago, which, she's got that same fitness or even more after a Kona build. And I believe it was a course record, but a 9-hour flat at Lake Placid. And, kind of dominated that field over Heather Jackson. Wasn't too far behind, but a 3:04 run in Lake Placid.
Yes,
that's she's got all the tools to win this race today.
She really does, and coming back from having her son and then crushing it at Eagleman, winning that, and then like later in the summer doing the same thing at Lake Placid. Her confidence, forget Kona. Kona's a different beast, but still, to her credit, she didn't get to race Kona. She was sick, right? She did, but she was like, I'm sick. I shouldn't have started. Totally get that. So Kona's like a long lost memory. Now she should have the confidence big time, I would think, after her year of just crushing it on the circuit, and now end the season here and maybe get your Kona slot for next year. Get another Ironman title on the year. That would be incredible. So she's like, all right, I'm going to go for this. And now she's got 112 miles to try to do it.
Yeah, no, she does. And I think if I'm seeing that race number correctly, that is athlete Fabian Reuter, number 41. I expect to see our leaders out here as well. But I believe if this is Reuter, this is kind of our second group. So we'll get a closer shot of that there as well. It's possible we got Andrew Horsfall as well. Obviously, he's going to be in that mix. He's bib number 47, so I could just be misreading that. This could be our male leader. We'll get a closer shot of that to be able to decide there. But